All right, let's get into it. This is MC Till, the Boom Bap Chat. We got a great episode tonight because we got great guests and super excited to jump in and have this conversation with them. But before we do, want to give a big shout out to Everybody's Records here in Cincinnati, Ohio. If you are here, get on over there and check them out. Call me up. I'll go with you. They have books, tapes, CDs, plenty of vinyl, more stuff. It's just a great store. They support the local hip hop scene, the local music scene. So we try to support them right back. So check them out here in Cincinnati or online at everybody'srecords.com. We also have a new book, our Boom Bap Review Series, Volume 5, covering albums from 2023, is coming out very, very soon. And you can get your limited edition cover at boombapreview.com and save some money if you do it this month. All right. Hip hop is a beautiful thing, y'all. And our guests tonight embody that beauty. When you listen to their music, it just oozes out. It can't help itself. You can hear it in their new album, All That Glitters. This album is excellent as it combines classic breakbeats, dope samples, and a smooth, fresh delivery. It's fun, it's upbeat, it's positive. It's just plain and simple, great music. Here to discuss that album and much more is URF Tone. Fellas, welcome to the Boom Bap Chat. How you guys doing?
Excellent. Thank you for that intro. Very humbling and, very much appreciated.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I'm glad you guys are here. And with the name Boom Bap Chat, sometimes we like to start off the conversation with just what that term means to you. If you like that term, what does it mean to you? So let's just start there. So what do y'all, when y'all hear that term Boom Bap, what does that mean to you, and how do you resonate with that term?
It's the heartbeat, man. That's it. It's the heartbeat. And obviously it's not something we strayed very far from. In fact, we went straight to the center of it on our debut LP, All That Glitters. And it's largely driven by that undeniable feeling of the breakbeat. You know what I mean? Taking four undisturbed boom bap, kicks and snares and sliding that fader back and forth to keep it going is the heartbeat essentially of your track. So it represents the DJ, it represents the cornerstone of hip hop, I think, and it's like the perfect bed to get your bars off.
Yeah, no doubt. And if you're listening and not watching the show, that was Ela from the group that we have tonight. And what about you? The world famous NIC. How do you respond to that term boom bap?
Yeah, it's funny because when you was, you never really think about these things until you're asked. So, I was like, oh, yeah. What do I think about? Skills has this famous quote: "I got your neck nodding because I got your head nodding because your neck nose is fat." You know what I mean? And
yes.
You know how that is. It's like it's undeniable when you hear that boom bap and you start going like that.
Yeah.
And that head start nodding. It's like,
yes,
okay, it's undeniable. So it just takes me back to the essence of hip hop. That's to me, I always say, like, hip hop, it doesn't really have any rules, but you know what I mean? Like there's some undeniable rules that they go without saying, you know what I mean? Like that's a hit. That head bobbing, that's a hit, and you can't write down the science of that on a paper. You can't say, okay, this is why it's a hit. Your body just organically responds to it. So that's kind of what I think about when I hear that boom bap.
Yeah, somewhere in there, maybe think of one of the interludes that you all have where you talk about hip hop and you can't say that something is not hip hop, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing, because everyone online obviously is telling everybody what is and isn't hip hop. You probably see these comments all over the place, like, this is the real hip hop and this is not. And when I heard that on the album, I was like, man, I really resonate with that. Like, there's some hip hop that I do not like, but who am I to try to define, like, oh, that's not hip hop,
We do this, we have this conversation. We try and keep it consistent, but sometimes life, family wise, everything jumps in the way. But we do this thing called URF Tone Tuesday, and we literally we're talking about that this week. It's like and probably you and Ela, with this being 50 years of hip hop, have lived long enough to see some of the things that initially in the foundation of hip hop which was looked at as taboo, or like, hey, if you're an underground rapper, you don't do brand deals, you don't do commercials, you don't do,
Right.
and we were kind of jokingly kind of looking back and being like, all right, so then when the St. Ives commercial came out, when they were doing the beer commercials, and then like, you see this whole transition of how like now everybody underground wants to do a branding and a 360 deal.
Right.
And it's like, but that was like, you were basically selling your soul or selling out back in the day if you did something quote unquote commercial. So I've just lived long enough to, and I'm sure all of us have with hip hop, that I just feel like we just live hip hop, man. And I don't really say anything is or isn't anymore.
Yeah.
I'm cool. I'm comfortable with living in the present of what hip hop is. So
yeah.
yeah.
I feel that. That's
Anyway.
dope. Yeah. Ela, anything you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I mean, and he summed it up well. I think one thing that, in our best intention and effort to like keep it on the positive, it's that's that divisive language. Like worrying about how somebody else is doing what they're doing, like, oh, you're not being true, you're not being authentic, you're not being X, you're not being Y and Z. It's like, we're not necessarily worried about that. It's evolving. Like, the Wu-Tang Clan sound a lot different than Curtis Blow. Like, where is the line? Like, when is it supposed to stop evolving, right?
Yeah.
So like, we want to make sure, even though we channel, especially on this project, like we channel the essence from a certain era, and thank you for acknowledging the way that you did by adding our own fresh spin on it. Like we refer to it as the new gold, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in an effort to like, stay consistent with that whole idea and the sort of the underbelly of the idea of the new gold is to like, we don't want to get stuck in the past and to say like, yo, this ain't hip hop and this and that. Like now we just saying the criteria is something based on, 1992 or like 80, let's say 86 to 94, whatever, like however you timestamp it. It's like, we don't necessarily want to do that, even if we do find like inspiration and muses from certain time periods. It's like, hey man, it's all love. We out here, it's all love, but we know what we're doing. That's all we wanted to say, I think, in that is saying like, it's not our job to call out what isn't, but we just know what we're doing.
Yeah, that's dope. Are there other artists that you're resonating to, like newer artists or artists that are just putting out new music now that you're finding inspiration from that you really dig these days?
I'm gonna let the DJ take that one.
I just off top, like J. Cole, Lucas Joyner, all of the new cats that's like really trying to, I would say, have a distinguishable voice. I think where I, as a DJ, start to get a little bit annoyed with the newer generation of rap is that I think one of the things that Ela and I reflect on, is back in the day, and we won't say any generation, but like it was a badge of honor to come out with your own original style and not sound like anyone else. And that everybody wanted to be fresh. Everybody wanted to be like, it from gear to sound to every, like, where you get that at? I've never seen that before. Like that was like, you were impressing your collective group of friends if you came and you had the fresh thing on, and now I feel like it's almost a badge of honor to sound like everyone and kind of like everyone is the same cadence. It's like, oh man, we all rapping like that now. And if anybody breaks that trend, then they're not cool. Like that's interesting to me. So any of the new rappers that like have their own distinguishable signature sound or voice, I love it.
Yeah, that's dope. That's super dope.
There's plenty of excellence. I'll just add that quick note. There's plenty of excellence in the present, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's hard. It's hard. The things that are getting celebrated tends to eclipse that. And by celebrated, I mean just giving bigger platforms, you know what I mean? It's getting away from the music in a lot of ways, and but there's plenty of excellent you know, whatever, young or new people that, you know, are undiscovered, or however you want to define
Right.
new and current.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that. You brought up something that made me think about kind of an evolution in my own life, where like there's certain hip hop music that I love. Like I love listening to it. And I also know the lyrics are just like so degrading sometimes and so violent. Do you
Yeah.
guys wrestle with that too? I mean, do you ever stop and think like, oh man, I love this song, but like I know what this dude just said and it's terrible. You know what I mean? Do you ever wrestle with that yourself?
Probably me
I
more
don't.
than either.
No, no, you may wrestle with it more. I don't. I mean, if we're
Yeah.
gonna, if we are going to hold art to that level of accountability, then like don't single out hip hop. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for
Like
sure.
you can't go enjoy a Scorsese flick if that's how you operate. And so,
Right.
you know, what I do think, this is where I think it's tricky, right? Like, so your questions are excellent, but there's like we could probably dissect each of them from Boom
Mhm.
Bap to this most recent one for, you know, more time than I think we all have. But I think what was tricky, and this is something we talk about, it's like, and I think I didn't even see the quote, but I saw that NWA was trending. And I think maybe Special Ed said something on a Drink Champs, and that then it started to get pulled apart. I didn't even catch the quote, but it's like, did they ruin hip hop? And I saw like questions. I didn't pay to my end, like go into the, you know, dive down that path. But I will say that I've actually referenced them for quite a while, as sort of, because they're just obviously this mega group and they're like a pivotal time. Not only did they significantly break down, so like Ice-T was, I think, the sort of the pioneer of the West Coast or whatever, but NWA like blew it out, right? And then
Yeah.
but so, you know, what they viewed themselves as street reporters, they also like gave a playbook onto how to succeed, right? So this level of like extreme rebellion and defiance, like they're doing it because of, it's like a response to something about it felt realer and more authentic, right? So so it's like, if we're gonna be rebellious and defiant, it's because of sort of, you know, injustices and stuff like that we're subject to, right? But
Right.
fast forward, it's like, oh, by just, you know, blurting out certain phrases, fuck the police, go crazy. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if
You're fine. Yeah, you're good.
cool, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, like so take it to this level, like that legendary thing, that Detroit show when that happened. Like, if you guys
Right.
were on that track, it's like that thing is a legendary tale now, right? So it's like, well, this is, you know, I mean, you call it hip hop or whatever. Like now you're seeing LL Cool J, Dr. Dre, and Eminem getting to the rock and roll. This is rock and roll, right? This is the formula for rock and roll. So it's like, if you're trying to distinguish yourself, you know, you got to go counterculture, against the grain, and so on. So I think that's where it's tricky. But, you know, like I said, like I love the sort of the I guess the rock and roll nature, and when it gets a little bit obscene or too far down that path, like it resonates differently to me today when I hear a new artist you know, use that's you know, sort of voicing today. But like, I'm not gonna, it's hard for me to separate myself from being a 12-year-old listening to like,
Yeah.
you know, whatever, you know, I was younger when I think Doggy Style came out, but like, I'm still gonna listen as though I'm that child, you know, and it's gonna take me back to that feeling, which was a blissful feeling, because like
Yeah.
musically it's incredible, you know. So
Yeah.
it's a, you know, it's a lot. It could go in a lot of different directions. You know, maybe you wanted something more succinct, but it's
No,
kind
you're good.
of
Yeah.
And I mean, just to piggyback off that, I think what I wrestle with the most is, and now being, you know, living 50 years with hip hop, I struggle with there just being a balance. You know what I mean? Like that, to offset that. Like I think that there's a place in hip hop for a street reporter. I think there's a place in hip hop for even the shock jock. You know what I mean? But then there's got to be a place for Black Thought, Common, that is
Yeah.
equally shed a light on as well. Because then what happens is, if I'm a 12 or 13-year-old, like I'm looking up to an NBA player, and all I see is And1 mixtape, I'm gonna just be like, oh, that's how you get, okay, I'm gonna do these tricks. you know, or, you know, do you see good basketball being played? Do you see good hip hop and you want to emulate that too? If I think the only way I can be a rapper is if I'm cursing, being a street reporter, then I just tend to be like, all right, well, I'm gonna write raps like this because one day I want to be just like my idols. So I just feel like the balance is what I struggle with, because you should have more than one idol. You know, we had, you know, back, I just real quick, just, you know, we had NWA, but then we had Chuck D. You know, we had LL Cool J, we had we had EPMD, you know, we had a plethora wide.
Didn't play De La Soul, like it was
so
fun, you know.
Tried, you know, so we had more of a balance in our day. Even on mainstream radio, we had, you know, a more of a balance that we were even, you know, digesting, so we could kind of gravitate and it could be offset. But like now, I don't see that.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that a lot, and that's one of the reasons we tried to amplify more positive voices and on this Boom Bap Chat and the books we write. I mean, dope is dope. If it's a dope album, it's a dope album. But for that reason, we try to amplify those voices. And, you know, when I came across y'all music, I was like, oh man, this is great. This is good. It's positive, you know? So I am curious, that positivity, is that something that you all like made a decision to be positive without just kind of up in your upbringing, or just like naturally positive people? Where did that positivity come from for you all?
It's not NI's upbringing, I'll tell you that. We've been through some stuff. You know, I think like, you know, so URF Tone is a fairly new concept. This is our debut project. But neither of us individually are necessarily new to the art form. And so I think we've done a lot, and we've like exercised a lot of different sort of options and approaches. And, you know, and I'll say for myself, like, I mean, I'm far removed from it, so it's not something that I get into now, but I started out battle rapping and freestyling, you know, battle rapping, like who wanted at the party type stuff, you know. It's like, oh, this guy from this school's nice. All right, let's get into it, you know. And won some, lost some, and all that. But and then you go from that, and then you're like, you know what? I think I'm gonna try this for real. And then so you're taking a assessment of what's going on and drawing some influence and stuff like that. And you know, there was like something compelled me to get braggadocio, even like you talk about like Black Thought and all that. Yes, he's dropping jewels of wisdom along the way, but he's still letting you know he is nice. You know what I mean? And, which he should. And so like you do that, and then like I found myself, you know, because also you're younger. Like I was younger, I was more sort of like just had a sort of more like volatile energy in me, you know. And so artistically it would just come out a lot. Like the rap would be aggressive, but that's not, it's because I was getting lost in the rap, but I wasn't letting my truest self inform the rap. And so over time, like as you almost like become sober from your youth and your naive mindset, you know, and it's just like, you know what, like as I could look in the mirror now with clearer eyes and be like, man, you know who I'm a nice guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's just the truth of it. I'm not out here trying to stir up trouble. And, you know, I get along with people. So particularly as like the one whose voice is sort of driving and represents for the group, it's like, I don't want to say nothing that, you know, I can't stand on, like when I'm away from the booth, so to speak. Like, nah, like I'm a good dude. And you know what? I feel like this is sorely missing in today's game. And also, like, I think one of the beauties of when NIC and I got to this like URF Tone and this concept and headed down this path, it's like we didn't pay no mind to what was going on, versus I was talking about like, you know, that once upon a time I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this in earnest. If I'm gonna make a career of it, what's working? Yeah, you know. So it's like, oh, what's okay, now you got to, you know, get into this. You got to distinguish yourself by saying I'm the best one out. You know, it's like, right, that's all well and good, but now it's like the art is the purpose. It's not the anything else. And so it's like when your art is your purpose, you're like, let me be true, and
Mm.
let me actually do something creative that's not really affected by surrounding elements. So we didn't pay no mind to trends or like what's popping, what's the wave, we just going straight down our lane.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
In full transparency, I'm the Christian of the group. Hila is the better person of the group. So, yeah, he's a better person than I am. So I'm probably more rough around the edges. I'm probably more aggressive. I'm probably, yeah. So yeah, I'm glad he's the MC.
That's dope. That's a dope line right there. Before we jump into this album, because I got a lot of questions about this album, All That Glitters. But before we go there, can you just quickly let people know, like, what is Earth Tone? Like, how did that come together? Like, what does it symbolize? And just kind of break that down for us.
Hila, by all chance,
yeah. So Earth Tone is really a manifestation of what was like already bubbling. Like, and I see in myself, there's a bond and a brotherhood between us, and it's not like we came up together as like shorties who it's like we found each other in adults industry wise, but like quickly saw eye to eye, quickly recognized that, principally we were kind of moved by the same, code and so on. And then musically, we were very much aligned as well. And so after, you do the thing where you kind of keep seeing the person or whatever, it's like, and I was starting to get to the stage more and more. And I said, I really want to have an authentic show, 2 turntables and a mic, right? So like I'm on the mic, obviously. And so we got together, our work ethic was the same. It was like, everything got to be sharp, rehearsed, etc. So like, it became clear very quickly that, like by character and then by profession that, it was a bond that's meant to last, So we had been doing that forever. We both, like, our bond stayed intact, but we got away from the, well, he continued, he's a DJ by trade, so he didn't get away from the music. But as far as like producing and releasing his own content. But when we got back to it, I essentially called him and I said, I just wanted, Earth Tone came out of like kind of a goofy like story or whatever, but it was really a label to put to make official what was already like, like, oh, that's the DJ. Oh yeah, that's the MC. You know what I mean? And so we wanted to ensure that, well, it was really my brainchild. And I wanted to ensure that we were a group, that we weren't sort of these, individual entities that are just kind of like floating out in the space. And it's like, oh yeah, let's link when there's a show. It's like, nah, let's get in the studio. Let's do this thing in earnest. And he got skills. He has certain character traits that complement my strengths or pick up for where I'm weak and vice versa, So it's like, and ultimately when we got together, and we talk about this a lot, so it's just ultimately like the approach of Earth Tone is just kind of stimulating, like intellectually stimulating conversations like this, and even the light ones, the joke ones, whatever.
Yeah.
We always break bread. Like that's the studio session to us. So we always, we're gonna get some food, maybe enjoy a drink or whatever, and then when the conversation gets into that good part, you know what I mean? It take a second. People, you come through, you got to settle into the energy of the room. When we get into that good part, things will come to the light. We're like, oh, that's it right there. We gotta put that on wax. So that's Earth Tone. And it just so happens the things that we talk about, we got viewpoints. And I think one of the most important things to call out too was like, we don't align 100% on all of our ideologies. And I think one of the most important things to call out is like, that's the essence of Earth Tone too, that you in the earth, we let that represent unity and unification, right? And so, and what that means is like, in this world, everything is so, that line is drawn in the sand so thick, right? So if it's like, if this is your view on this matter, on matter X, then you're my enemy. And then if this is your view on that, it's like everything can't make, we just gonna be standing on islands by ourselves. You know what I mean? And then we get our curated thing that kind of supports our viewpoint. It's like we can't always see eye to eye on everything. And so that's like, you know, a lot of, I think what comes out in the music is like recognizing other viewpoints and say, all right, well, this is how we going, but we recognize everything from kind of a more global perspective. Like, you know, as for the nonsense that's out here in the world, we're not like, we don't really pay no mind and address that because it's not a good use of our time, I guess. But yeah, we try to keep it positive. We try to keep it funky, make people move, go back to a time where people actually were not, everyone wasn't the star. People were there for each other, for the camaraderie, for being at the party together. You can dance, you can sweat, you can, you know what I mean? You can smile.
Yeah.
Everything isn't hard all the time.
Yeah. And I love that you pointed out that you have differences, and it's a beautiful thing. It doesn't have to be something that divides us, you know. I love that. And I appreciate that. That's dope.
I think that's where, honestly, that's where our art, a lot of our art, not the concepts for our song began. I mean, even when you think about the name of the album, All That Glitters, you know, the phrase is all that glitters isn't gold, you know what I mean? And so that's, we were talking about not only the golden era, but when we talk about the golden era, a lot of times we speak of it with this infatuation of like, man, I wish it could be back. I wish hip hop could be back like it was in the golden era. And I think sometimes we tend to overlook, it was some bad groups in the golden era as well. We just didn't come along with the story. You know, where there was a Tribe Called Quest, there was also a ... Just ... didn't get, you know, they don't go along with the story. So we start to reminisce back. And, you know, again, even a lot of those artists from the golden era, when you speak to them now and you see them on Drink Champs, they talk about the bad contracts. They talk about the show promoters that screwed them over. They talk about a lot of the stuff that, and we never tend to talk about that. We just reminisce about this glorious time called the golden era. So, you know, we wanted to kind of bring things to the present. And again, I think Earth Tone is always not only trying to unify people, but then also saying like, there's a balance. There's a balance even to us reminiscing about hip hop. Let's tell the full story.
Yeah. And appreciate how good it is now. I know I was listening to an interview with Alchemist, and he was talking about how once he got his mind wrapped around like this new way of releasing music and being more independent and not having to go through a label, he was like, it was the greatest thing for him. And he's having more fun now than he's ever had before because he's, you know, in control and empowered to do that. So yeah, so there's wonderful.
I should have called that out for our sort of independent mindset and not paying no mind to waves and stuff like that too. It's like there's no gatekeeper, and if our audience could be 5,000 loyal or whatever, and that 5,000 loyal goes a long way. So we don't got to tell some story of like, yo, we got 5 million gazillion followers. Like, nah, like what we do, so long as it resonates with a nice little cut of people, like we're good. You know, we got peace with that.
Yeah. So All That Glitters, new album. If you're just tuning in, we got Earth Tone on the podcast, and their new album is All That Glitters. It's a really, really good album. And I just want to address now, if you go searching for it on the streaming platforms that we're all kind of used to, you're not going to find it. You'll find a few singles, but you won't find the whole album. You got to go to the website, urftone.com, URF Tone, TONE.com, and you can buy it there. I did. You should do it too, because it's a dope album. It's worthy of your money. I promise you're going to enjoy it. But can you speak to why you didn't put it on streaming platforms?
Yeah, thank you for raising that. That's something that, like, you know, as we were releasing singles, you know, along our journey and trying to like feel out and navigate today's space and sort of like how to touch and grow your audience and all that, it just felt like it lacked any like sense of like real solid connection, with exceptions, of course. But it just seemed like, you know, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle on the major DSPs, like, you know, like Spotify, for example. And I'm not calling them out to disrespect. I call them out because they're sort of the gold standard, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like the one that everybody uses. So, but it's like, if your music is on a platform and sharing space with essentially all the music of all time, you know, so you can listen to URF Tone, sure, but you can also listen to Michael Jackson, and you can listen to Jay-Z, and you can listen to, I mean, anything. You can go listen to Tony Braxton, you can listen to Guns N' Roses, you can listen to anything of all time. It's like, it feels like it lacks the sort of the attentiveness and the intentional, you know, dynamic between artist and audience. And it's almost like you're trying to, you know, speak to somebody and their head's on a swivel and they looking around and they chucking a deuce this way and that. It's like, it's, you know, and something that we value from our formative years of being music lovers is that sort of like, it's like a spiritual experience when you had your little $10 and you went to your, whether it was Sam Goody or Music Plus, whatever your store was, and it's just like, you go and you got to make your choice. Where are you gonna blow that $10, or you get a few singles, or whatever you're gonna do. You make it make sense, and you get it, and you fighting off that plastic on the jewel case, and you're just like, and then you have it and you ride to it, and it's uninhibited by anything else. And you want to listen, and you want to get to understand, what was that bar? What'd he say? Let me run that back. What'd she say? Let me run that back. So it's like, we are in this digital space. The world moves a lot faster now than it did then. But if there are certain measures that we could take now to recreate that magic, and honestly, like, for the amount of work, the amount of, you know, energy and love that we poured into this project, we feel like it warrants that. It warrants that level of like intentional listening versus this sort of passive, like, everybody thinks they're an A&R these days. It's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'll just give it a once over, and I'm gonna slide over to the next thing. Oh, Drake dropped the project, and then Cole. All right, listen, don't do us that favor. If you're gonna ride with us, like, listen to it. You know, I want you to, you know, if you're gonna go to this museum, to stare at the painting. Don't just walk past. You know what I mean? Like, it's art, and we feel like it deserves a certain level of respect for those who are going to dive into it. So we might have compromised the quantity of who we're exposing ourselves to, but we are focused on the quality.
Yeah, I think that's really dope. And the album lends itself well to, you know, an album experience. You know, a lot of music is just kind of put out there, just kind of see what sticks. There's playlists, there's artists coming out with, like, you know, 5-song EPs every other month. But this is an album. Like, it feels right from the moment you press play to the very last song. It has a consistency to it. It's coherent. It just has a feel to it, you know, and that's something I love about it. I don't like albums where it's like all over the place. There's like a down south song, there's an East Coast song, there's this song, there's that. And like, I mean, if that's your thing, if you like that eclectic nature, fine. That's great. You know, do what you do. But I love an album that has a sound. And this one definitely has a sound. That's something I really appreciate about this album. It has, like I said in the intro, it has like these very traditional breakbeats throughout, with really dope samplings on top. You got some stand-up bass on there, which I love. And the coming together of like the beats that you make are just the perfect soundscape for your voice. It just meshes really well. You know, it's not, the beats aren't like soft, like they're you know, they're break beats. So they're full, but they're not too full. They're not too aggressive, you know, and your voice is there, but it's laid back enough. It just all works really well together. So if you don't have the album, y'all, go get the album. It's really, really good. I want to bring in, what's that? Sorry. What were you saying?
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Wanted to bring in my buddy who couldn't be here tonight. He's got some family members, little kids that are sick tonight. But Joe November, also a producer and part of the Boom Bap Chat. He had a few questions. He said his favorite track on URF Tone on the album is "Feel Is Real," and wanted to see if y'all could talk about the concept, how that concept came together, and how you got Adrian Crutchfield on it.
No, go ahead.
You know, it's that Zoom thing. We'll make sure the rhythm is
Like,
there. We sharing the ball, you know. I'll start backwards. So Adrian Crutchfield, who is a virtuoso jazz musician, you know, plays multiple instruments, you know, credited and Grammy Award winning on, you know, Prince projects and tours with CeeLo and a number of other, you know, credits to his name. Just so happens to be the cousin of NIC. So
oh, really? Wow. Okay.
it worked. It was a layup and it was a no-brainer. You know, as far as the concept of the song, it's just more of those sorts of conversations that we have that that inform the direction of creativity. So, you know, it's like a lot of the recurring themes throughout the project, and Feel Is Real is not an exception, is about that unity and finding our way back to each other as people. And obviously the music has to feel good. Music is such a force that it can really be a soundscape that inspires that togetherness, you know, where you kind of forget about maybe your differences, or you forget about your worries and your stresses and that, and you just kind of like get lost in the music. So we think about all these things as sort of like our, you know, the tenets, the things that we're driving towards. And I think the rest kind of gets cooked up from there, you know. But it's a pretty pure and like authentic experience. Like we're listening to each other speak in conversation, and we're listening to our voices in our head. And then it's like when that picture becomes clear in your mind, it's like, oh, this needs to now materialize in song form, you know.
Yeah. I'm curious, and I see like your beat process. Do you generally start with like a break beat first? Do you start with a sample? You start with a tune? Do you start with a bass line? Is it just how you're feeling that day? What's your process like when you're producing and making
Yeah,
beats?
so it's so interesting because we were talking about this just the other day, and I was saying, like, honestly, the way that we go into our creative process is, if I had to say something before bass line, before beat, before anything, it's conversation. It's literally conversation. And then, like you said, like Ela was saying, when you get to that good part and you're like, oh, that's a song. That's a song. That's, nobody is talking about that, but that's very present right now. Let's go create. We'll stop right there. We'll leave the pizza on the dining room table. We're like, all right, we got where we're going. And so we go there, and then we start searching for sounds and that feel and resonate with us, you know what I mean? So it could be a breakbeat. We always want to start with that undertone of, you know, hip hop, that boom bap, that, you know, something that is going to a lot of the sound, the foundation of sound that we work with, especially on All That Glitters, was like, let's speak to the B-boys and B-girls, and if it's going to be a golden era love letter, let's incorporate a lot of those, you know, those James Browns, those straight break beats. You know what I mean? That will not always be Earth Tone moving forward, but like that, because we were so in that mindset. And, you know, Ela has said, you know, on multiple things, is like, you know, we were kind of listening to a lot of like L Cool J, Heavy D, Kwame, Kid and Play. He really wanted to show out, you know, lyrically how he could, you know, nobody was rapping in that pace and that cadence. And so he really wanted to highlight his pen. So, you know, we had to kind of choose some beats that was in that 115, you know, 120 even, like with, you know, with everything being 70 BPMs now. Right. Now I'm speaking DJ talk now. We had to be like, all right, well, we got to go this way. That raw, that Big Daddy Kane at 110, you know, kind of M range. But outside of that, that's kind of that's our creative approach, is like, all right, what are we trying to accomplish? What is the topic of the song and what feels right? And then it's easier to kind of start picking beats and bass lines. Because a lot of people, when they hear Feel Is Real, they're like, oh man, it reminds me of Diggable Planets. It reminds me of that, you know, that cool, like that Rebirth of Slick, that, you know, it's just got that kind of cool vibe, you know. But that's what we were like, yo, man, that kind of vibe is what brings people together. That's a chill vibe. That makes me want to, you know, if you smoke, you want to smoke. If you drink, you want to drink. If you eat, you want to, party, you want to talk to a girl. This feels like that. This feel is real right here. This is where we at right now. So when I hear those kind of comments, I'm like, yeah, we hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I've been getting into a lot of jazz. My grandpa listened to a lot of jazz, and I listen to jazz just to sample. But recently, I've been listening to jazz to just enjoy it, just to sit and enjoy it. Curious, are either of you jazz heads? Are you into jazz music at all?
Well, yeah, my father was a jazz DJ.
Oh,
He had
really?
he had a show for I would say the better part of 3 or 4 years in Wisconsin, where we're from, and it was college radio, and he had a jazz program. So I grew up listening to a lot of Ahmad Jamal, Miles Davis, Thelonious, Coltrane, all of that stuff. He would all
Yeah.
that was a constant sound bed in our house.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
cool. That's cool.
yeah.
Excellent.
My wife will play it in the background a lot. She's a musician herself, so she'll
Oh,
they'll be cooking breakfast on Sundays with either American jazz like the likes of who and I listed, or she'll get into like some bossa nova type stuff too.
yeah.
It's expanded my appreciation and palette more. But jazz has always been, I've always been, because like being a student of hip hop, just been sort of fascinated with process more and more as my journey goes. So you hear, like, when you hear Q-Tip, who's pretty clearly an inspiration, when you hear him speak about his production, like, he's very well informed. He's a jazz head,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think it's always important to like peel the layers back when you are being a student of something. When you get involved in the craft, you got to honor it that way. So I couldn't take no quiz and test on it, but it's something that I'm it's like I have a constant like hunger for knowledge and info. So it's a cool.
And I mean, I
So
would be, I gotta shout out some of the new, the Robert Glaspers, Hiatus Coyote, Moonchild. I'm throwing out some names, because if you haven't stumbled up on them, you might want to check these people out. But again,
For sure.
it was all like Roy Ayers, Herbie, all of that stuff. I remember growing up listening to that. But like the new cats, I like a lot as well.
yeah,
So,
that's dope.
yeah.
On the album, you have a song 1-2 with Camp Low,
Yeah.
an excellent duo right there. How did that come about?
Well, Camp Low is literally one of my favorite groups of all time.
A word.
They're more of the lighter group, because I'm a Griselda, Mobb Deep, Wu-Tang. That's probably more of my sound bed. But like, for whatever reason, from the first time I heard Camp Low, I was instantly in love with them. I just thought everything creatively, everything they brought to the table, I loved. So that was a big get for us. I got to be in full transparency, man. That was like a bucket list group for me. Go ahead, Ela. I mean, you could expand on with that.
It was incredible. They're incredible. I guess the moral of like Camp Low for any artists who are listening, it's like, don't limit your imagination as it relates to, let's say, like reaching out to people. Now, Camp Low, we did have to go through some back channels and had to get like the network involved. But and I'm sorry I'm skipping around, but it all falls in context. Like, we also got down with Mr. Funky, famously from Lords of the Underground, and it's like that was a result of just Googling around. You know what I mean? Like, how do we get in contact? Who's the rep, or does he have a direct, like direct contact that we can reach out to him on, or whatever. So but I would say in like both of these cases where we were, very fortunate to enlist people with like accolades and credentials to the tune of a Camp Low or Mr. Funky, it's like it was really a pure thing that happened. You know what I mean? It's like we weren't out like necessarily like star chasing, so to speak, or however you would, define that. But it's like, hey, we need another voice here. And then when you say you need another voice here, it's like somebody like it'd be good if somebody like a Camp Low. And actually, as it relates to Camp Low, like he's always kind of tapped in. You know, he's like a multi-cities, grew up in Milwaukee, lived in New York, lived in, you know, West Coast and all of. So it's like he's like, I think I got somebody that we might be able to contact. You know what I mean? It's like we could throw something out there. I mean, we throwing a Hail Mary, but it's like there's no interceptions and there's no ramifications for getting it wrong, right? All it is like putting together a sincere and earnest pitch. So not some dumb one sentence text type stuff, but like, all right, let's make sure that we put our best foot forward and respect these dudes for who they are. And so, but it's like, yeah, that's how that worked. And then with funk, it was more like a Google thing. And it's like, in both of these cases, it was just letting our imagination play out. And it's like, you know who'd be dope on this? And it's like, we actually, you know, and then it's not to say we were 2-0. We reached out in some other cases for instances of, you know, who'd be dope on this, but it didn't pan out. We have no regrets, you know, because we really like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? We let everything you know, out of our system creatively, and where it netted out, we're obviously very pleased when we released it. So that releasing it represents, you know, being proud of your work. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, anybody who is in this space, you know, floating around independently, like, allow your imagination to go do it. I think it's a reward from our like honest intention too. I mean,
yeah,
you know, but yeah, we flipped out when Camp Low came back with verses. We flipped out.
I bet that's dope, man. I remember a mentor of mine used to talk about, like, you know, the long shot. Like at the end of the game, there's only a few seconds and you're down, and all you can do is just heave the ball up there. You do it because sometimes it goes in. I mean, it usually doesn't, but sometimes it does. So you
That's
gotta just
exactly
keep trying,
right.
you know?
And this is that it's the first quarter. Like there's nothing to lose.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's just
Yep.
nothing to lose in trying. So
Right.
I would always encourage people to try if you mean it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Make it
if
authentic.
you're doing the thing where you just rattling off dozens in a day, and it's like somebody can get back, it's like that may work for you, you know. But for us, it was like our thing was real intentional. We knew where we wanted to go creatively, and as it started to take more shape, we're like, we need to insert a different voice here, like, and you know, it panned out how it did.
I
That's
think
dope.
that was the most rewarding part about it. Was I think that people can kind of feel that authenticity when you are really asking for them, like, yo, this, when we reached out to people, they felt that, you know, we were sending the tracks to people and they immediately saw what we were doing. They saw our intentions behind it. They knew it wasn't like, oh, we're trying to get you on here because we're trying to flip it. We're trying to, you know, kind of piggyback off of your status. It was more like, yo, we're doing this for all the right reasons. And even if you don't do it, we're still going in this direction. And so I think that people just felt that. And, you know, when they see a lot of people, you know, when they see a moving train, they're more willing to jump on it. You know what I mean? If it's stalled out at the station, they ain't trying to get on that. But once them wheels start turning, they like, oh yeah, okay, they doing this with or without me. They going somewhere with or without me. So it was very, very gratifying to see and rewarding to see that they felt our passion, like what we were doing.
Yeah, I'm sure that felt very validating. That's dope. I love that. So I wanted to ask you about one more song. And my man Joe November, he actually sent the question in, and he beautifully written question. And I have to lean on you for the pronunciation of some of this. This is, I think it was listed as a bonus track.
I got you.
This is what is it? How you say it?
Zendegi.
Zendegi.
I mean, we try to spell it as phonetical as possible.
It looks, Zendegi.
Zendegi Azadi.
Okay. So he said it. That song.
Which, by the way, any Persian people with like perfect pronunciation and fluency are laughing at the way I'm delivering. Like I'm the expert. Farsi is not a strong suit of mine, but
well, we don't mean to offend or mispronounce, but
they shouldn't be offended. That's
sure. So the song, Joe wrote in that the song feels like there's a real connection with how people, particularly women, persevered in the strict Middle Eastern culture. Was it inspired by Madgal's song, which shares the same name?
Oh, so that is it's the signature chant of a movement, of a rebellion, of a revolution that is actively underway, and it was particularly flared up around this time last year. So essentially, it means women life freedom, which is why we got the sort of the parentheses in there, and that's the chant. It's a beautiful chant, what it represents, but it also speaks directly to the reality of how women are like really, really grossly oppressed in it's my native country, you know what I mean? And it's in large part why I speak English as an American, an Iranian American, but an American nevertheless, because my mom, and some of this is covered in that tracks. Like, she's like, I don't want to live in these conditions, and I don't want my sons to absorb this way of life and this sort of like this level of chauvinism and disrespect and think this is okay, so she threw caution to the wind and got to America just herself, her kids, and about $200 and like figured it out. Yeah, so like
that's amazing.
Yeah, and she's an incredible woman. So a lot of this, and in fact, she was the one that put our feet to the fire and said like, hey, like what you guys represent, and then particularly calling me out. She's like, you're sort of a liaison, you're an ambassador, like Iranian people, diaspora wide all over the globe are fully, and of course those with their feet on the ground in Iran, like they're fully aware of what's going down. Basically a young lady named Masa Amini, she or Gina as we refer to her, and that's her middle name. She was targeted and she was brutally killed for loosely wearing her hijab. It understandably sparked outrage, and it resulted in people taken to the streets. Now, obviously there are oppressions and things like that in America, but I think the key differences in a country like Iran and here, it's like you can't air those grievances out in any sort of organized protest or, with any sort of freedom of speech, at least on paper. It's not even on paper there. In the cases where it's not, it's like on paper, but it's a facade. It's not even on paper there. So it's like, their government, send their armies out and started to let bullets ring out. And anybody who was out in the street in those times could have been hit, arrested, tortured, small children. It's a really, it's insane. The level of inhumanity is truly insane. So all of this is going on. I was born in Iran. It's my native, country. It's my connection to, it's my root rather. And so as this movement is underway, my mom basically like put it to us, and she said, hey, like you guys offer an opportunity to get this message out, the message of this movement and this revolution to a broader audience. Iranian people are already well aware of it. So what are you going to do now? You know what I mean? And what she was speaking on behalf of family members, cousins and things like that they were just like, hey, like, how come Mila's not taking action? And how come URF Tone's not taking action? And so it was tough. It was tough because as you noted earlier in our conversation, we skew a lot towards like, more fun loving, like good spirited things. And that's something I can always get into, but when you talk about the gravity of this situation, and it's still actively a situation, it's a really tough thing to have to examine and put on your shoulders to speak on. I felt, my nerves were rattled and I was really nervous. And there was several times it took longer than most songs would. And it's not to say we're one of them like, oh, we cranked out 25 songs. That we don't do that. We cook slow, but this one was particularly slow. And there were several times along the way where I was telling Nick, I'm like, man, it's not coming to me. It's not, it feels unnatural. And, he would just continue to encourage, like, hey, stay with it, just see it through. And, and then I gotta credit my wife as well. She was, there was parts where we, you know, the song weaves together my personal testimony with the broader movement and how it all ties together. And she's always asked, she said, I get it. she'll I get it. You can rap, you're crafty with words, but when are you going to tell people about a little bit about yourself, your background? And so just weaving it all together was a really tall task. But you know, when the family was reaching out, we had to answer that bell, I guess, ultimately.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did. It's a great song. And I know you talked about having conversations before you create. Did this song create conversations, you know, after people heard it?
Yeah. I mean, it was you know, people posted on their platform, people tapped in, you know, people would reach out via DM or somewhere in the comments and say like, man, this is crazy, what's going on? And, you know, where can we donate? How can we get involved? And, you know, everything is relative, you know, it's not Earth Tone saying it is not going to be the same as Jay-Z saying it, but,
right.
but nevertheless, like for those who are sort of loyal listeners and took the time to like dive through this one, which is a little bit out of character because everything was kind of that fun loving, you know, hip hop music and stuff like that. This one got a little deep. So it's like, it, you know, strictly from a music standpoint, it's an interesting sort of, you know, scenario to see who's going to take this ride with us. You know, you want to keep coming to the party with us. I understand the party is fun. Do you want to have a deep conversation with us? Well, this is some of that real, like, are you on board for this too? So yeah, I mean, most people proved to be, which was cool. And, you know, to some degree, our mission was accomplished artistically, but there's a world of work to be done for the cause itself.
Yeah. Dope. I love it. I love music. I love fun music. And I also love music with a message that, you know, shines light on something. So yeah, so I love it. All right. So before we move off the album, I do want to ask both of you, if someone has not heard the album, and I know we like to listen to albums all the way through, but let's just say they only get one song to hook them in. Is there a song on the album that you could say, yes, you definitely should listen to this song? This is the song that will hook you in. What do you think, NIC?
I mean, our most popular, and I think the song that resonates most and is a great entry point to Earth Tone is Feel Is Real. Yeah. So yeah, for sure, because it talks about, you know, we're not here for the boasting and bragging. You know, I know that you're tired of just everybody saying they the dopest, and they, you know, there's certain lines in there. You know, when did love your neighbor become overrated and those kind of things. And did I misquote you? I'm sorry if I did.
Underrated. When did love your neighbor become underrated?
I'm sorry, but you know, we were just. I'm sorry. But, you know, it's those kind of things that resonate with me, because it's like, you know, again, we just were trying to, you know, bring up those questions. And those are things that we do talk about over breaking bread. It's like, man, why can't we talk about those things? Again, like I said, I'm a Griselda, Mobb Deep, Wu-Tang, but, you know, again, we get to a point where it's like, man, there's just no balance. There's absolutely no balance. And we weren't trying to be the balance for the shock value of it. We were just trying to be like, all right, now that we do have wives, we do have, you know, kids, and we have families, like there's got to be that. And Jay-Z and can't be the only person that's married in hip hop. You know what I mean? Like, right. It's like, so it was just I think Feel Is Real is just such a genuine snapshot of Earth Tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes you got to let the data tell the story, and Feel Is Real is overwhelmingly the you know, champion among the records. So that's, if somebody had, you know, 2.5, 3 minutes to get familiar with us, that's definitely the one we serve up.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. It's an excellent song. I don't know. I have two favorites. I mean, the whole thing is just dope, but Something For You, I love that song. There's something about when the stand-up bass and the breakbeat aligns. This is brilliant. And then Supervision. It's kind of like I wouldn't say somber, but it's like more mellow.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if there's a breakbeat on that one or not, but I just love that vibe on Supervision. Just a great vibe on it. Love that song.
We got a comment from, I'll like, you know, keep the name discreet, but is a DJ, like a respected dude around here in Southern California. It was just like he finally got a chance to dive through the project. And I think he was alluding to supervision when he's like, oh, I thought you guys were strictly on the fun, but like, you actually got like introspective, and you actually, reflect on deeper sort of like, self-reflections, I guess. And so yeah, that one kind of snuck up on people, because we do what we do with the singles, but I'm confident, because that one has gotten like a pretty strong response, supervision. But I'm confident that if we roll that out as a single, it's like, man, I'm not trying to hear about you. I want you to serve me. That's how the audience would receive.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, well, we can't put the toothpaste back in the tube though. So like, it's the hope again. Like we've made this metaphor in a few conversations, but it's something like, when you're dating somebody, like when you start dating, you put the nice clothes on, you put the smell good on, you do, you put your best foot forward and all that. You're not going out there being like, I'm real sad today on date number 2. You know what I mean? Like, I got to hear about this complainer, so it's like everything is straight. We're good. Let's have fun. Let's get some food. We're going to go dancing afterward. And so it's like, and then once you're about a month or whatever in, and it's like, yo, can I talk to you about something real? It'll be more invited, So it's like when people have heard supervision, and those who have been on the ride with us for a little bit longer, like, it's like, oh, you know what I mean? Something to say.
I like that analogy. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Before we get on, and the other thing about this album, like I said before, it really does play like an album. It feels good from, beginning to the end. And there's also these really dope interludes throughout the album that kind of holds it together in a way. So it's not just like 10 songs, just like fade in, fade out, it's done. But there's these interludes where you're talking about different, elements of hip hop and different things. And it's just like, man, it just all fits really well. So if you are listening and you've not paused this podcast yet, to go find the album on urftone.com, go do so, download it. I don't know if there's any vinyl left. Yep, there it is. If there's
Definitely
vinyl left.
copy. Now we got some vinyl,
Okay.
Tap into the store for those who collect, for those who just love to play the records for themselves. Yes, we
yes.
got you.
So get that. Fellas, anything else you want to say to the people that tune in about this album before we jump into some other albums?
Now, if you appreciate the pendulum swing and the balance to what is currently the sound bed of what's going on right now, if you are into, as my man Twan Mack would say, adult contemporary hip hop, I feel like this is an album that you should listen to, and we made it to be digested as a piece of art. This album is for you.
Amen to that. What else can you say?
Perfectly summed up. And you know what? I mean, I feel like, now's a good time just to say thank you for everything that you've said to sum it up, because you've done it well. And I don't think there's like a more gratifying feeling for creatives than when somebody gets your intention. And a lot of how how you've dissected it, and the commentary you've given, just like, it lets us know very clearly, like, oh, you get us, you know what I mean? And that's a really reassuring feeling. And so we never take that kind of thing for granted. So thank you.
Yeah, no doubt. You're welcome. And just a few comments, a few Facebook listeners chimed in. JOMO said, love how he talks about quality over quantity. We were talking about that earlier. That's dope. Oh, he also asked, will there be a CD release? Because I've only seen a vinyl release.
Nothing imminent. I mean, it's not to say we can't, like, open that door later down the road, but because of our relationship to the DJ, and granted, half of us is a DJ, half of the identity of Earth Tone, but it's like it's more than that. What Earth Tone represents as a singular entity has the utmost respect for the DJ as the origin of hip hop. And that's something that's gotten lost in the history of it all, right? So like it was very intentional and very like purposeful for us to say, let's do this group as a DJ and an MC. And normally how we present ourselves, press releases and all that, we'll call ourselves the DJ MC duo, because that's how it all started. And the DJ, and listen, you may get famous. You could become the famous guy holding the mic, but the party is always on the DJ. Like, let that be known. You know what I mean? So anyway, we got all this reverence for the DJ. So we felt like, obviously we're just some working dudes for around the way guys. Like with whatever resources we could put together, we thought it was really important that we feed the DJs and get back into vinyl. So that's why we went that way. Now, maybe at some point down the road, we'll get into the CD or tape or something too. But yeah, right now it's vinyl.
Right on.
That's dope. And there's digital. I want to make that clear, because some people are like, well, I want to listen, but I don't have nowhere to spin a record. So we got the digital for you too.
Yes, get it. And shout out to Brandy Stevens, who also enjoys the album and chimed in on Facebook a little bit. So
that's family.
Yeah, you know Brandy. All right, right on. And Marcus, shout out to Marcus too. He shouted out Ronnie Jordan is his favorite jazz artist. So yeah, Ronnie Jordan's dope. So shout out to Marcus. All right, fellas. The last thing we do on the Boom Bap Chat, we like to celebrate classic and just albums we love. So with a little activity we call One Word, and see if y'all can do it. I'm gonna flash an album and see if each of you can respond to the album using only one word. Woo. All right, you ready for this challenge?
Yeah. All right, here we go.
All right, first album is let's see here. Okay, The Allegory by Royce the 5'9".
Can Slept On be one word?
Slept On. Yeah, I guess it's hypernated.
Underrated.
Whatever.
Like
underrated. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's where I was going, Ela. Underrated.
Sheesh.
Yes.
You think this is his best album?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. And I think something I learned about it, having listened on a podcast or something, he produced it as well.
Yeah.
And when it's not the only way, but I do think that when somebody who is as articulate and like just such a wordsmith to the standard, to the status of a Royce the 5'9", when you have these ideas in your head verbally and you know how to take them home sonically,
yeah,
man, that thing is crazy. Ooh.
Ela between the two of us struggles with one word answers. So you
well, to be fair, I did ask.
Rappers a telephone word.
I did ask a question, so to be fair. Yeah, Royce surprised me on that.
Like,
yeah, right. He surprised me with the beats. I didn't know he could make beats that good, He
said it was his first go. He said it was first go, and like that's the first time he's ever gotten into that. Obviously, he's had like Primo and all these people behind him before, but man, he did his thing.
All right, yeah. Going back for this one. This is "Mama Said Knock You Out" by LL Cool J.
Muse.
That's a good one.
Legendary.
Yes. Let us. You think this is his best album?
Yes.
Can I answer?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
No. You can answer, but if I just want to make sure my words are.
You can use more than one word with your answers. Yes,
okay.
Yes. Yeah, this album is dope.
I do. Marley Marl on the production, LL with a vendetta.
Yeah.
Like the same album contains Mama Said Knock You Out and Around the Way Girl, and it makes perfect sense. Cars Ride By, Mr. Goodbar,
Mr. Goodbar.
It just that album is it's one of those perfect ones. From memory, I don't think there's a skip on there.
I also think, as an artist, there comes these moments where you come into your own, you understand you as an artist. Like, I feel like LL always had a good sense of who he was. He was going to be the ladies' love. He knew his sexuality. He knew his hardcore. He knew his battle. But I think that there's these times in some artist's career where you like, all right, I'm an adult now. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
us as individuals, you know, you come to a certain age where you're like, I'm good with my zits, I'm good with my nose looking like this. I'm good with, you know, like
Right.
this
Yeah.
is me, and I know how to highlight myself when I'm trying to pick up that girl. I know how to put my, like, I feel like that album was LL saying, all right, I know what's worked and I know how to roll it up and package it now. So like
Yeah.
that was a legendary album.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. All right. Two more here. We got Aquemini by Outkast.
That's on the wall.
Oh, is that one on the wall?
That's on the wall.
I told you I literally was, yeah, all right.
Oh, it's a
Okay.
little glare.
Yeah,
I see
okay,
it now.
that's definitely on the wall. Wall worthy. That's a hyphenated word.
Another hyphenated one. I
Yeah.
like that. Wallworthy. Are
Create,
those? What did you say?
creativity.
Creativity. Yeah.
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 You know,
That's a good one. And my next question: do you think this is their best album?
For
yes.
me, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
My older brother, so funny backstory. My brother didn't own a record player. The URF Tone vinyl release inspired him to buy a record player. So because he's like, yeah, you know, I'm a cop of vinyl. All right, you know, good luck, big bro. So now he's spinning it, and now he's kind of gotten into it. So he's building out his record collection. And he texted me about 2 weeks ago. He's like, what's the best Outkast album? I said, Quimini, but AT Aliens is 1B. You know, and he's like, I was thinking the same. He's like, I'm gonna go get that vinyl. It's the same thing. It's like that same go to the store. I can afford one right
Well,
now.
yeah.
Literally,
Right.
he's living it, you know.
You know, the reality, if I could piggyback off of this, you know, art in general is so subjective. And so, you know, whenever you pull one album up of an artist and you say, you know, is this the best one or what, you know, it's subjective. But Ela and I, when we have these break bread conversations, I always say, and even when I'm DJing my sets, music is so personally attached to a memory. So a lot of times when we listen to albums, depending on what we were going through, you know, you'll hear people be like, yo, that album right there got me through a death in the family. Or I listened to this Donny Hathaway or this Stevie Wonder song and it got me through a certain period of our lives. And so the reason why Aquemini resonates with me is because it was a certain period of my life that I was rocking that. It got me through a certain period of time. So I know that there's other Outkast albums that some people be like, nah, that, you know, but for me, attached to the memory that I have, Aquemini was, man, hands down, it got me through a period.
Yeah, that is so true. The experiences we have with the albums is very, very important and profound. And even though, like for me, even though I think I like AT Aliens more than this album, I think this is their best album. When I just think about it analytically, like there's just so much going on this album. The musicianship is amazing. It's just a great album. It's phenomenal.
I mean, I wouldn't even be mad at anybody saying AT Aliens or Southern Playlistic.
Yeah.
Like I just,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, last one. We got the last one here. We got Uptown Saturday Night.
Come on,
by
man.
Camp Low.
Come on, man. You don't even have to ask me this. Go ahead, Ela. Let me hear what you say.
Oh man, fly.
Fly. I like it.
I can't even think of one word that is one of my favorite albums of all time. And I'm not talking about just hip hop albums. I'm talking about across all genres of music. I'm talking about Stevie Wonder, Prince, Donny Hathaway, Camp Low. Like it's one of my favorite albums of all time. Yes. I can't.
I'm gonna say your word is classic then. I mean,
classic,
epic. Yeah, epic, classic.
Epic. I like epic.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, because I just love albums, man. What are some of your all-time favorite albums that were not shown here tonight in this one word segment? What are some other albums that come to mind when you think of like favorite albums of all time?
Low End Theory. I'll say, you know, I know a lot of people, if you're picking one from the Tribe, you know, catalog, a lot of people say Marauders, you know, but for me, I somehow, you know, gravitate towards Low End Theory. I'm a West Coast kid, so Balance and Options by DJ Quick. The West Coast CD from Corruption. It was a double disc, and the East Coast was cool, but that West Coast CD was a really, that talk about music being attached to a memory. This is where I got to be the cool little bro with the big homies. My older brother, you know, he had the license, he had some subwoofers in the car, and I just got to be squished in the backseat, like, you know, it was great. Corruption takes me back to a very fond
That's
place.
dope.
Yeah. Like Water for Chocolate.
Yes.
Yeah.
What, like, I was listening to that, you know, somewhat recently, and I was just just taking a look at the credits. The production, the collection of producers from Jay Dilla to James Poyser and West Love and whoever's involved, like, yo, Common, you know, and then Common's poetry, you know, on top of all of it. It's that's one of them perfect storms.
Agreed.
The answers for Nick are behind him. He literally, reasonable doubt qualifies for me as well. Illmatic.
Things Fall Apart. Mob Deep's, you know, thing, you know, I'm trying to think of, you know, Paid in Full. Come on, that's, you know.
Yeah. And you don't want, like, there's no reason to overlook the legends that it's like, it almost goes without say, but, you know, Ready to Die. I mean, for me, All Eyes, you know, I speak for me on that one, and I don't have the same affinity for Pac, but yeah, God, what a we could do that all day.
You'll be here all night,
No
man.
doubt. Yeah, for sure. But that's what I love. I love albums, man. I mean, there's artists that I love, of course, but man, it's just nothing like a good album, a good hip hop album, you know.
And I think, you know, before we started this, before we went live, I said, you know, we made all that glitters for people like you. So when you reach out and we have these conversations, it's more rewarding for us to hear it from someone like you, because we vividly remember, and Ela and I have sat down and talked about this, again, music dropping. It was an anticipated, like, yo, the new such and such came. Yo, did you get a new? And you went and you looked at the cover and you know what I mean? Read the credits and you ripped the plastic. It was a whole experiential thing. You had to physically go get an album. You couldn't be at home and just download it on your computer. You had to invest something, your time.
Yeah.
Get on a bus, probably. You had to walk to a record. So you had to do something to get it, so it was more valuable to you. So all of that stuff, when we made this, we wanted people to have that interactive experience where they listened to it and it told a story. So
job well done. Well done. Cool. Well, it's a hip hop show, so we always go out with shout outs. So I'll give a few shout outs and then I'll turn it over to you guys and you can take it away for the night. So sound good?
That's dope.
Word. Well, I want to shout out Denmark Peoples. If you don't know this MC, he's a dope MC. It's Denmark Peoples, and he's going to be on the show in 2 weeks. And he too has a really good album out this year. So make sure y'all check that out. The entire Boom Bap Chat crew, my man Beau Brown, Big Stowe, Profound, iomos, Marad, and Joe November. And also want to shout out my man Marcus, who was tuning in tonight. And he said Jasmine Taz, I think 2 was one of his favorite albums of all time. So shout out to that for sure. And shout out to you guys, man. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate the great music. The album obviously is dope. Again, if y'all have not gotten it yet, go to earthtone.com. hit the little shop button at the top, get the album. You're going to enjoy it. I promise. It's going to be featured in our new book, the Boom Bap Review, Volume 5. So make sure y'all get that at boombapreview.com as well. And yeah, shout out to you guys, man. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for sharing a little bit of yourself and your story with us. And thanks for this beautiful album. So thank you guys. And with that, I'll turn it over to you for the final shout outs.
Yeah, shout out Real Ones family. We just did a show with them. So I don't know how these names are going to resonate, but, you know, from Prop to Promote, Icy Ice, Curse, Hydro, Babito, the whole crew. And then we got to shout out anybody who's been supporting All That Glitters, and that certainly includes yourself, Till. We really appreciate you. And then all of the features that got down and helped, not only the features who got down musically, but the people who got involved at every angle. So that means, you know, our guy Nat Star, who got down on the engineering. X is the weapon, who's the head of design for LRG, the clothing brand. He's responsible for the design of the project. And then, yeah, of course, the musical contributions as well. So, of course, Camp Low and Funk, like we talked about, Amir, Ray Khalil, Adrian Crutchfield, Lincoln Cleary, Frank Abraham, anybody else. Hopefully I'm not missing nobody, but yeah, everybody who got down, who helped get this thing across that finish line to release, and those who are supporting, and everybody who's checking in on URFTone.com to cop that thing, we appreciate you.
Yeah, to all the lovers of hip hop across the board, this is who we made the album for. So shout out to y'all. We would be crazy if we didn't shout out our wives for letting two 9-to-5 dudes who, you know, decided to do a passion project and a just kind of take time away from the family to go, you know, chase this this feeling of wanting to create art. Like, you know, our wives are they are our A&Rs at some points, and they and they're like, nah, that ain't cutting it. So we want to thank them. But yeah, all the real ones, all the beat junkies, all the DJs that have like really, you know, rocked with us, and the people that have really sat down and just listened to it from front to back.
Amen.
Yeah.
Right on. Thanks, fellas. And on that note, we say peace, 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 peace.